Welcome into Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I am Brandon Strange of Sports Map Houston. I am joined by Joel Blank of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 FM. Joel, I want to get your viewpoints on J.J. Watt's future with the Texans, but before I do that, I just want to take a moment to thank our subscribers. We hit 5,000 subs this week on the channel, and we're not even a year in. The response has really been awesome. You guys bring it in the comment section every day. Thank you so much for watching and, just as importantly, participating. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. All right, so Joel, let's get into it. Lost in all of the questions about Deshaun Watson's future with the Texans is the uncertainty of J.J. Watt's future with the Texans. Watt is under contract for one more year at $17.5 million. The catch being that they could trade or cut him outright without penalty or cap hit of any type. Last year, before the deadline, the Texans seemed completely uninterested in moving him. Enter Nick Caserio, new Texans GM. Caserio comes from that Patriots franchise who are notorious for being cold and calculating when it comes to personnel decisions. How much will Nick Caserio's handling of J.J. Watt tell us about whether the Texans really have become Patriots South?
I think you bring up a good point, Brandon, because it's going to be how much influence does he have and how much influence does Cal have, and maybe how that relates to Cal and Jack Easterby, simply because if we see that he is coldly and calculated, moved somewhere else, whether it be via trade or by cutting him, then you know that Nick had a very, very big part in doing this, and he did it the Patriots way. If, and it's a big if, but to this point, I think that especially if the Deshaun Watson story never happened, this would have been the biggest story in Houston and would have gotten national run, because the Texans don't want to be the bad guy in any J.J. Watt situation. The reason why they had the stance that they had before the trade deadline was, after all this guy has done, not only for the Texans, but overall what he's done for Houston, the Texans have as we all know, have a real concern about how they look image-wise, and they didn't want to be the bad guys that said, we're getting rid of this guy that's been a hero in Houston, and they want JJ to be the guy that he kind of was leaning towards doing late in the year, of saying, I want to go win, I want out. They'd rather have him do it than them do it, so they're worried about their image and the way they look. I think if Caserio is and truly does things the Patriots way, he comes in and goes, hey, thanks for the memories. We're always going to remember you fondly, but as our future goes, you don't fit into it. You make too much money. Our cap is completely upside down, and we got to do what's best for the franchise. That's going to tell you a whole hell of a lot about who's actually making the moves in the front office on Kirby.
I want to talk about some of those options that you just outlined, and maybe a third option that maybe we're not talking about. But before I do that, why don't you give us a word from Fitz Roofing?
Yeah, we love the people at Fitz Roofing. Look, if you have any kind of roofing needs, whether it be for your business, for your house, you want a new roof, or a roof repair has to be done, there's only one place to call. It's Fitz Roofing. It's 832-521-3001. Free, no obligation inspection. It costs you nothing. They come to you, tell you what they can do, and you're going to be absolutely fantastically pleased with everything that they do every step of the way. Best ratings in the business, best warranties, and best products. Fitz Roofing, making a difference one home at a time.
So, Joel, you outlined a couple ways this could play out. Option one being they cut or trade him, get that money off the books or get some value back in return. A second option being allow him to play out his deal. If he signs elsewhere, then they don't take that PR hit. But there is a third option that could be splitting the difference here, and that's perhaps they extend him and divide some of that money across multiple years. And if they did that, does that splitting the difference between the Patriots' pragmatism and the Texans' loyalty mantra that they have?
It kind of does, Brandon, but it also kind of doesn't do what they need to do, which is press the reset button as quickly as possible so the rebuild doesn't take as long. We all know and love what J.J. Watt did for the Texans, but we also are realistic in being able to face the facts. He's not nearly the player he once was. If you extend him, even if it does save you some money financially, it means you're going to keep him around at still probably a fairly high rate for multiple years, and I think that prolongs the whole rebuild process on the defensive side of the football to some degree. So I think that, yes, there are three options available. I think that they would really like to avoid looking really bad in the process of having to cut him. But if they could find a trade for him that got a pick or two back in return, but also put him in a situation where he had a chance to win and win now, I think that everybody in Houston would forgive the Texans. They wouldn't look at them so harshly. And from a franchise standpoint, whether it be from Caserio to Cal McNair, they could move forward knowing that they did right by him, they did right by the team and the franchise, and that both sides are going to be better off going forward.
You mentioned Deshaun Watson. That's kind of how we started out this video is, a lot of this J.J. Watt talk has been buried by the Deshaun Watson talk. I think an interesting twist on this discussion could be Deshaun Watson's fate. If they trade away Deshaun, would that make it more likely that they also jettison Watt? In other words, could one move impact the other?
Oh, absolutely. And let's think back a little bit further, Brandon, to walking off the field in that final game when JJ apologized to Deshaun for wasting a year of his career. JJ doesn't want to waste any more years of his career, and he's made no secret about the fact that he wants to win. If your best player that gives you the best chance to win is shown the door or asked to be shown the door or moved out of town, regardless of how it happened, you darn well better believe JJ's going to speak up. He's going to be heard, and this could be what the Texans wanted too, to where if they do have to move him, as long as Deshaun is moved first, JJ will probably be speaking up right after that saying, okay, that's it, I'm out, and I want out, and then the Texans are off the hook, and JJ gets to be where he wants to be, which is a winning situation.